Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Pokemon SoulSilver. In the last part, we went through Olivine Lighthouse and then sailed on our new Vaporeon towards the southwest, past the Whirl Islands here to Cianwood City. This, in the original game, is the furthest location on the west of the map, but Heart Gold and SoulSilver do add something that we'll be checking out in several videos to explore a bit further. But first, let's now head into Cianwood City Pharmacy. This is the reason you want to go through Olivine Lighthouse before coming down this way, as otherwise you're just going to be having to backtrack, and that could be a little rough. Huh? You need medicine. Your Pokemon appear to be fine. Is someone worrying you? The Lighthouse Pokemon's in trouble. I got it. Guess that'll do the trick. And we got this secret potion. My secret potion's a tad too strong. I only offered it in an emergency. So now, we can go to Janine back on the top of the lighthouse and fix that Ampharos up. You can also buy some items from this shop here. It's basically the item shop for the town, but not much worth of note. Now we want to head into this house where something very interesting awaits us.
I'm in shock. A guy about your age with piercing eyes and long hair came in. He scared me into giving him my prized Pokemon. I still have one left, but what if he comes back?
He'll look strong. Could you look after my Pokemon for a while? Sure.
Oh, thank you. Take good care of it, please.
And they noticeably don't tell you what Pokemon it is until you check the menu. He just gave us Shuckle. Shuckle is an interesting Pokemon. I believe you can get it from randomly using Rock Smash on rocks around the area, because you can also get Pokemon from that, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that yet. Bug Rock type, so it is weak to Rock, Steel, and Water. This is one of the tankiest Pokemon defense-wise in the entire franchise. Its defense stats are nearly maxed, but the rest of its stats are, if not single digits, very low double digits. However, in Gen 4, this Pokemon got a notable buff. At some point when leveling up, it learns the level Power Trick, which swaps the raw defense stat with the raw attack stat. So you could have a Pokemon with near max attack with a single move, with very high special defense in that case, meaning this thing can tank some serious hits and also deal out the damage with the right moveset on it. I don't usually use the Shuckle I get here in Johto, but it makes for an interesting Pokemon to learn how to use from this point on in the series, because if you get a right moveset on this, you have not only a really great tank to have around in case you want to, say, heal some Pokemon up or something, you have a great attacker as well. And it usually has the ability Sturdy as well, which prevents it from being one-hit KO'd anyway. So you could have a guarantee of just being able to heal whatever Pokemon you need to. As a support Pokemon, I can recommend it. As a power Pokemon, if you have Power Trick on it, I can very much recommend it. Its other ability isn't as good, that's Gluttony. Gluttony makes it so that you use a berry held item a bit earlier in battle, which has its own uses, but I feel personally, for the type of Pokemon Shuckle is, Sturdy makes more sense. Also, hi there, Suicune. We'll interact with you in a moment. Because I got a free Max Ether. Ooh. But yeah, if you want to find Shuckles naturally without grabbing that one from him, you can find them randomly around here by smashing the rocks. I'm not sure if Shucky is like a particularly good Shuckle, like in terms of his IVs or all that stuff, if it's even said at all. But it's a free one at least. Stardust, by the way, is an item. We've found a couple items like that so far. They are entirely for selling. Star pieces, nuggets, the pearl items, all those are meant exactly for selling. And there you go again. Hi there. Goodbye there. Ah, you've seen. Yo, Kyle. Wasn't that Suicune just now? I only caught a quick glimpse, but I thought I saw Suicune running on the waves. Suicune is beautiful and grand, and it races through towns and roads at simply awesome speeds. It's wonderful. I want to see Suicune up close. I've decided. I'll battle you as a trainer to earn Suicune's respect. Come on, Kyle. Let's battle now. Time for a battle that's exclusive to Crystal and the remakes. Time for good old Ucine. Because the entire Suicune plotline that they have going on was added for Crystal. He starts off with a drowsy insomnia for its ability, so you can't put it to sleep. Hypnosis, disable, confusion, dream eater. It's the usual drowsy moveset, I'd say, overall. It tries to put you to sleep or confuse you, eat your brain while you're asleep, or disable you from using any moves good against it. Now, this fight in particular is a case of me forgetting things, if memory serves, because I believe I make some weird moves in terms of the Pokemon I throw out or the moves I use. This is one of those cases like I brought up earlier in the LP where I sometimes just plain forget which game I'm playing in some regards, so I forget how certain things will work at a moment's notice. Commentary-wise, it's even been a bit more of a mix-up thanks to the fact I've been streaming Emerald, though thankfully that has concluded, so I don't have to worry about getting more Gen 3 in my brain at the moment. Also, I don't recommend challenging the champion of Emerald while you're like 12 levels under level. That was a mistake. Because my movesets were not good for that. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that during the Morty fight, didn't I? Dream Eater also restores the Pokemon who uses its HP, assuming it lands on a Pokemon who's asleep, which is the one way Dream Eater can land anyway. Making this attack very nasty in the right hands, like the Gengar Morty had. And the Haunter as well, to an extent. Dream Eater is a strategy I think only maybe done on one Pokemon throughout my years, and it was probably a Drowsy back in Fire Red. The big problem with it for me is that it's a strategy that requires too many move slots for my tastes to really use. Like, I briefly foreshadowed this last part when I said there's a status boosting move I like to use on Vaporeon. I like most of my move slots to be dedicated to varied type damage moves. And because of that, having, say, 3 move slots dedicated to a specific strategy, like Hypnosis, Dream Eater, and Nightmare, for instance, in the case of the sleep strategies, just is too much, especially because in that case, that's like, what, a Psychic type and a Ghost type, and that's it? And that's just not enough variance for me with how I've tended to play. This is admittedly from years of only really using attack moves anyway, kind of just melding together. I think the main reason is how limited you are with move slots. Because barring technically certain things like Z moves or Dynamax stuff, you only have the 4 slots and you can never have more than that. So having to dedicate potentially 2 or 3 of those 4 to a certain strategy that might not even work makes sense in competitive, where things are a lot more isolated. But throughout an entire RPG campaign, it just doesn't make sense to me. With that said, with the Drowsy out of the way, Yusin's going to be throwing out his next Pokemon, which is going to be an Electro. We'll talk about what this new Pokemon is in a moment. It's got static for its ability, so be careful with physical attacks. Sonic Boom, Rollout, Thunder, and Screech. So this thing is out for blood in some form or another, because all 3 of those moves that are actually damage-based hurt, and lowering your physical damage makes it all the more dangerous. Electro, though, pure electric type, this evolves from Voltorb at level 30. The pure electric means it's exclusively weak to ground. This was one of the fastest Pokemon in Gen 1. I think is still one of the faster ones in the series to date. It's got okay special stats to back up that speed as well, so it can take good advantage of the Thunder type, because I think Thunder type is still mostly special moves. The big problem is its physical stats aren't much to write home about, and it doesn't have a lot of HP to par up with that speed. But given that fact that this entire Pokemon's gimmick is hit fast and hit hard with special moves, I'd say it's worth a try. Are there other electric types I prefer more? Probably. But it's a good one. Plus, technically speaking, the best way to defeat a Electrode is by using physical attacks anyway, since its only super effective type is ground, and most of those moves are still physical. So you're probably going to get hit with static, and that just means it's going to go even faster. So in the case it paralyzes something that's faster than it, you're not going to have to worry too much. Outside of priority moves like Quick Attack and Extreme Speed in some cases. Could I have maybe not just spammed Dig? Yeah. Sometimes I tend to prioritize, I feel, more on hitting the super effectiveness rather than a move that's stronger than it in some cases. Like in a case like this, I probably would have done more damage probably using not Surf, probably in that case, but something that wasn't Dig on Vaporeon's moveset. Quick Attack probably could have done more damage in some form. But say in this case, say if Blaze had Dig, it probably still would have been more worth it for me to use Flame Wheel, despite it not being super effective, because higher special attack, even with a higher special defense stat on the Electrode. Sometimes I just get stuck in weird ruts like that mentally, where I just get too stubbornly stuck on one idea. Either way, Yusin's final Pokemon is a Haunter. Hypnosis, Lake, Mean Look, Curse still has Levitate. It's your average Haunter overall. In fact, sometimes they make bad decisions like that. Thanks for the win, Yusin. You didn't need to hammer it home that much, but I guess I'll take it. I hate to admit it, but you win. Cool. Thanks. You're amazing, Kyle. I'm starting to understand why Suicune was keeping an eye on you. I'm going to keep searching for Suicune. I have a feeling we'll see each other again. See you around. Also, I haven't mentioned it yet, but Yusin's theme is one of my favorite in the game, especially in its original Crystal instrumentation. Just good chiptune, good melody. If only it played at a few more instances. In fact, I really wish, getting slightly spoilery, I wish we got to fight Yusin again, because that's the only time you fight him in a Pokemon battle. And why? With that said, time for the gym. And this gym notably got a gimmick change here in Heart Gold SoulSilver. In this version, we need to reach that switch up there to turn off the waterfall, hammering Chuck, because he's so deep into his mental training that he won't notice you otherwise. In the original game, you needed to use strength to push boulders around here. But because you could theoretically miss strength by not going to where you get it, that meant you could accidentally make this gym uncompletable without having to backtrack. With that said, time for a new Pokemon. This is a Machoke. This evolves from Machop at level 28. Pure fighting type, so it is weak to Flying, Psychic, and eventually Fairy. Machoke's a good physical attacker with a good HP stat to back that up. Is its evolution that you can only get by trading better? Yes. But if you're looking for something that can do some good damage physically, and has an okay physical earn set as of this generation from memory, you could do a lot worse. I've used the Machop line, several times, and it's usually served me pretty well. But we're not done with fighting types yet, because that's basically every Pokemon in this gym. Next up, this one, Black Belt Yoshi, is going to be throwing out Hitmonlee, named after Bruce Lee. Pure fighting type, so once again, weak only to Flying, Psychic, and eventually Fairy. This is a better Machoke. High attack, good special defense, decently fast. The biggest problem is it can't take much of a physical hit for a fighting type, and it doesn't have a big HP stat to back that up. But if you're just trying to get a move in fast, hit it hard, you could do a lot worse. Plus, that high special defense means the moves that it's usually weak against, particularly Psychic was usually the biggest weakness for fighting types, will be resistant enough that you might actually not get one-hit KO'd a lot. I like the Hitmonlee line a lot. Or rather, I like Hitmonlee a lot. The line's a little bit of a different topic that we'll get into later down the road. I much prefer Hitmonlee to its cousin we're actually just about to meet in a moment, as I find it's a lot more specialized towards the playstyle that it needs. This martial artist has said cousin, though. This is Hitmonchan. Pure fighting type once again, so once again, Flying, Psychic, and eventually Fairy weaknesses. Hitmonchan is Hitmonlee, only it can, I think, has more of a focus on punch move than kick moves. But they siphoned away some of the physical attack to put it into the defense, same with the speed. Because it's a little slower, but a little tankier. The problem is, I think for the movesets that fighting types have, usually, I'd say the higher physical attack partnered with higher speed makes for a much more usable Pokemon. I've never really liked Hitmonchan too much, despite honestly preferring the design. Also, Hitmonchan, of course, named after Jackie Chan, as everyone states in every LP of these games ever, because it just needs to be said because Jackie Chan is awesome. I will admit, though, that Hitmonchan got a lot better here in Gen 4 thanks to the physical special split, for the same reason that Alakazam got worse. The formerly special attack stat using elemental punches are now physical moves, and Hitmonchan can learn all three of those. So you can have some pretty good type coverage on a physical attacker by using one. I just still prefer Hitmonlee's stats and learn set outside of type coverage. There is a new cousin they added to Gen 2, though, but we're not going to be seeing him for a long while. Also, speed up theme for this part is another Winter from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the movie, the game. The game that I look back at and realize has a lot more problems than I remember, especially structurally with how much damage enemies do to you early on. But damn it, the Anamanaguchi soundtrack is flawless. I at one point had plans to do that as a 4-player multiplayer LP years ago, but I still haven't gotten to it. Either way, Black Belt Lung has a new Pokemon here. This is Primeape. This evolves from Mankey at level 28, pure fighting type, so flying, psychic, and eventually fairy again. Decent physical attack, decent speed. Defensively, it's not too good, kind of low HP. There are better fighting types, there are worse fighting types. It's perfectly usable. I have a lot of nostalgia for it because I tend to use one of them very early on whenever I play through any version of Gen 1/Kanto nowadays, as using a Mankey if you chose Charmander is the best way to beat Brock. But late game, there's just usually better options. Pressing this switch, though, prevents the waterfall from flowing, so now we can challenge the gym leader. But I should note, if you do what I like to do and save and go heal at the Pokemon Center before fighting, you do have to go back up there and press the switch again. Kind of annoying, but it only takes like 10 seconds anyway, so oh well. Ugh, the pounding waterfall right into my head. Ah! Why'd you stop the waterfall from pouring on me? You just spoiled my training! I have to warn you that I'm a very strong trainer, training every day under this waterfall. What? It has nothing to do with Pokemon? That's true! Come on, we shall do battle. Chuck is our fighting type gym leader, and for a latter half of the game gym leader, he's only got 2 Pokemon here in Heart Gold Soul Silver. Starting out, he's throwing out a Primeape with Vital Spirit, Leer, Double Team, Rock Slide, and Focus Punch. This Pokemon's entire thing is to try and get your defense down, raise its own evasion, and then use a move that will only go off if you don't hit it during that turn. Vital Spirit, by the way, prevents the Pokemon from falling asleep, so that could be a little annoying. Rock Slide's not much to write home about here, though. What can be something to more write home about, though, is his second Pokemon, and it's a Pokemon that actually I remember making me lose a few times back when I first played the game, back in, oh god, am I about to have to think about what year this came out in? Alright, hit me hard. 2009, September 12th. Oh my god, this game is about to turn 13 years old. This game's almost a teenager! Either way, his next Pokemon is a new one. This is Poliwrath. This evolves from Poliwhirl when you use a Water Stone on it. Water fighting type, so it is weak against Flying, Grass, Electric, Psychic, and eventually Fairy. It's decently balanced. It's got some good some good physical stats and good defenses all around. It's okay fast, got some good HP. Do I think there's Pokemon more specialized that I prefer to use? Yeah, but this is a perfectly serviceable one. Chuck's, though, has Water Absorb, so you cannot damage it with Water-type moves. Hypnosis, Body Slam, Focus Punch, and Surf. The Surf can be a problem, as it has a decent special attack stat, thanks to being water fighting. And Body Slam can just be a really powerful move. Because if I recall, that's like 85 power this early on? And in Gen 2 onwards, it can paralyze you. So even if you have Pokemon faster than it, it might paralyze you, hit you with Surf or Focus Punch, and then you're just probably taking too much damage to do anything useful. Also, Citrus Berries are annoying. Get used to seeing them, by the way. I think Morty's Pokemon had one as well. No, not yet. By and large, every single gym leader's ace is going to have a Citrus Berry moving forward, if not multiple Pokemon having them. Usually only the one, though. Bring some good electric attacks, and hopefully you'll get through the HP eventually, and then Hyper Potions show up. I should note, every single gym leader, like, has items, but they can only use them a certain amount of times. For instance, I think Chuck will use 1 or 2 Hyper Potions. It's most notably used in the eventual Elite Four and Champion, where they're usually used between 2 and 4 each throughout the battle. It's essentially, yeah, it's extending the fight, but I also like to look at it as a way I like to look at random trainers that use, like, every single Pokemon in the evolutionary line. It's like you depleted a Pokemon's HP, and a monster's HP bar in, like, Final Fantasy. They die, but then they come back as, like, an undead, upgraded version of it. A bit of a weird paralog to draw there? Maybe. I guess it's more parallel, not paralog. But It's how I like to look at it, despite it lengthening the fight, just to make myself feel better about it being happening, because it's annoying. Enough levels, enough time as usual, and you should take down Chuck no problem. But that said, I never really recommend over-leveling in a Pokemon game, because it just makes it feel like there's not much of a game going on there anymore. In fact, that might even come up more mechanically down the line in this LP for reasons I'll get down to in the finale. We lost. I lost? How about that? Alright, you're worthy of the Storm Badge. That's number 5. 3 to go, or we're getting down to the wire. The Storm Badge lets your Pokemon fly to any city or town you've been to. Here, take this too. Ah, TM-11. That's Focus Punch. It doesn't land if the foe you're attacking hits you first, but it's very powerful if it manages to hit. For a good while in this LP, I actually use that on Blaze, but I seldom actually use it, which is kind of annoying. No, hello there. That's Cianwood's Gym badge. Then you should take this HM. Well, we just got the ability to learn Fly. Gee, I wonder what this is. Teach Fly to your Pokemon. You'll be able to fly instantly to anywhere you've visited. Any place there's a Pokemon Center, more or less, you can now just directly fly to as long as you have a Pokemon who can learn Fly. Usually, it's regarded just for flying types. I think there's a couple of weird ones that can learn it, though, that don't have a flying type in them. Like, I think Golurk in Gen 5 can. Decently strong flying type move, too. Decently accurate, high power. Takes 2 turns, but it's worth having around. I'm going to be putting this on Kenny, as this will allow us not only to get around some of his weaknesses in some cases, but it'll also allow Pokemon to waste their PP as well. I could have gotten rid of Air Cutter for this, but I honestly prefer to get rid of Astonish overall. As Confuse Ray I still have some good use for. I have other moves that can cause flinching. And I have an entire Ghost type to do Ghost type damage. Double dipping in this case is fine. And to use Fly, you just go down to the menu, and you can select anywhere you've been to on the Pokeball. And we're going to head over to Ecruteak, because now that we have Surf, we can do some stuff over towards Mahogany Town we couldn't before. If you're wondering, wait, what about the secret medicine for the Ampharos and Jasmine, who I realized I called Janine earlier, but oh well. I forgot about that in recording until like the end of the next session, I think. Whoops. But this will allow me to highlight something that's both cool, but also a detriment to Johto's design. We'll get more into that, though, as we progress throughout this wing. Now that we have Surf, we can reach the central part of this route where there's another little island. As well as a, old friend. Hello again, Suicune. It's been, what, 18 minutes? Something like that. Hello again, friend. Oh, God, hi. Bye-bye. You've seen, this thing's kind of rude. Suicune, how brave it is. How refreshing it is. How beautiful it is. And how quickly it moves. Kyle, you seem to be around where Suicune would appear. Well, that's okay. My desire to search for Suicune is far beyond yours. My grandpa was quite into myths. I've heard so many stories about Suicune from him. Suicune. I won't stop following you until I find out what you're after. You hear me? I think it's already like miles away, dude, so A, probably not. B, you're a little obsessed here, man. It's kinda worrying. But now that we can access this central portion of this route, you might notice there's even another door into Mount Mortar to the north of us. We're going to spend most of the rest of the part doing that because there's some items that aren't necessary in there, but I might as well grab them while I'm here. Helps get more experience points as well overall. It technically saves me time down the line. Also, in case people are curious for some reason, I mentioned earlier on in this LP that the pure recording files for this LP are 57 hours long. We're only in session 6 currently out of 27. We got a long way to go. I'm estimating this is probably going to become my longest LP to date and probably will stand as that for a while because barring maybe Platinum and in some ways Gen 5 between the two parts of it, this is arguably one of the most content-filled Pokemon games, period. So since I wanted to show everything off as best as I could, there's a lot to do. I'd argue the next time we'll get an LP this long is probably whenever I finally do either one of those Pokemon games I just mentioned. When we finally get to like a Persona game, or one of the later Final Fantasies, like FF10 I can see being about the length of this. Same with FF9 in some ways. I feel like in general, gameplay time-wise, you're able to edit out more out of a Final Fantasy than a Pokemon, though, if only because usually the random battles in Final Fantasy take longer than Pokemon on average. Like, an average wild Pokemon battle is like 1 or 2 turns long at most, usually, as long as you're being overly aggressive and hitting type weaknesses. A random battle in Final Fantasy can be like 4 times as long as that. Like, those can average out to be a minute and a half long, I'd say, on average, rather than like 15 seconds, not counting fade in and fade out. Also, if you're noticing that a lot of the items around here aren't much of note, you're correct. Again, I probably should have saved this for later, for when we're actually exploring Mount Mortar for the rest of it. In fact, this floor in particular has the main reason you want to explore Mount Mortar, but we can't reach it until we have the final HM in the game. I always kind of wish, though, when it comes to caves like this in Pokemon, that they usually have a few more unique Pokemon. Like, especially if you're on the water in them, I feel like they need to have more than just, like, usually the Tentacruels, Magikarps, and occasional Goldines. Like, if there's more Pokemon than that, it's usually for one specific cave per game, maybe 2. At times, it feels like Pokemon's biggest problem, well, I've already slightly talked about this throughout this game, about the Johto versus Kanto Pokemon split, is that they don't pace out Pokemon in ways that are interesting on the wild Pokemon side, usually. Because it's usually like, okay, the first third of the game, you can get, like, the Pokemon you're going to see throughout the rest of it, wildly. But then the last third of the game are where a lot of the very interesting Pokemon are to catch. And that's been a problem, it feels like, since... Overall, probably actually this generation, Gen 2. Not so much Heart Gold, Soul Silver. No, it's still Heart Gold, Soul Silver, but for different reasons. And I guess in the case of like the remakes, they just want to keep it faithful, which I understand. But in the original game's case, it's like, you have all these new things. Don't you want to have people be led in with the new things? Either way, now that we're approaching Mahogany Town, I actually believe I do a jump cut coming up here to go heal up. Mahogany Town, if you're wondering if it's fine to skip to this in case you didn't do Jasmine yet, yes, you completely are. In a weird way, the level curve kind of expects it, but also doesn't. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 12, we're going to be heading north of Mahogany Town towards the Lake of Rage we've heard about a few times now, and see what's going on with some Gyarados over there or something like that. See you guys then.